Thank you for allowing me to take time to greet everybody, say hello to everybody. It is an intentional practice of mine. It is a way to create the conditions for belonging. Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha, and it's such a privilege to be able to guide our practice today. For those of you who are new, in this meeting, we record the Dharma offering, the meditation. We do not record the community sharing time. The recordings are posted to our website and they are connected to Spotify, YouTube, and all the things. And they're just such a wonderful way of accessing a meeting, accessing some Dharma in the privacy of your own home, in the privacy of your own mind, on your own time. And I find this a really soft way to practice and cultivate a bit of solidity on this very tricky, sometimes treacherous journey we know as recovery. Welcome, welcome. For the month of November, friends, we are exploring the practices of generosity in Buddhism. And there are four. There are many, but the four that we talk about most often in Buddhism are the practices that relate to material uh, needs, basic needs. Then there's the practice of protection, the practice of offering generosity around happiness, and then the generosity practices related to wisdom. This this week we've been talking about how to cultivate the generous spirit that creates the conditions for happiness. And I think the most important thing for us to contemplate and reflect on is, what does happiness mean to you? What does happiness mean to me? And I think it's very important to say that whatever it means to you is the right thing for you. So I really want to encourage you to trust your knowing, trust your own innate wisdom, your Buddha nature, and you can determine what happiness is for you. What I'd like to do today for our contemplation and our reflection time is I'd like to talk about the Four Noble Truths as written by Recovery Dharma, the Recovery Dharma context. So, for many of you who go to different Recovery Dharma meetings, there's a script that is often followed, and it's deeply inspired by traditional approaches. So, there's certain things that you do every single time at a meeting. And in the Spokane Sangha, we do things a little bit differently. What we do is we take Buddhist concepts and we study them deeply for an entire month. But I want to return to the Recovery Dharma Four Noble Truths as they have written them, because I think there's a single word in there that is a hook, and I want to bring it forward and dull the sharpness of this hook. So the first noble truth is there's suffering. Suffering's a heavy-handed word. What suffering means is anytime we're malcontent, anytime we're disappointed, confused, upset, resisting, feeling kind of blah and ma and bleh, that's suffering. There are reasons for this. That's the second noble truth. There are causes and conditions to our misery, to our malcontent. And here's the thing, the third noble truth. And one of the main conditions is craving. So let's be fearless and let's talk about craving today. And I want to talk about craving not in terms of, I want to mention it in terms of the physiological cravings that the body experiences directly related to substances. That's a thing. and it's very important to acknowledge. And so that's the third noble truth. Like there's this craving that we deal with, and there's a way to end craving. And that ending, that way, is called the Noble Eightfold Path, the fourth noble truth. So let's first tap into craving as a physiological phenomena. And I bring that forward to everybody because this is something happening in your body, often outside of your control. And if you can think about it in terms of the sympathetic nervous system as well. The sympathetic nervous system is an aspect of being human, this manifestation of particles and atoms that has its own mind. So the sympathetic nervous system knows three things: alarm, resistance, exhaustion. That's what our sympathetic nervous system does. And we need it to do this, by the way. Our ancestors and our life depends on it. We get a feeling that we might be in danger, and we are alerted. We are on alarm. And we resist whatever's going on. We take a minute to look around and we gather ourselves. And then when we feel exhausted, we rest. However, where we get into trouble is when the sympathetic nervous system is chronically activated. We don't learn how to turn it off. We don't learn how to attenuate it, to turn it down a little bit, activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is all about rest and rejuvenation. So this is the balance. This is the bothness. We have this alarm state and resistant state, and we also have this restorative state. You can't do anything about that alarm state other than be aware of it. It's something that's involuntarily happening in your body. Craving works the same way in a lot of respects, my friends. And so the reason why I bring that forward is when the body is craving a substance that it has been habituated to, you're going to have arisings. You're going to have feelings, you're going to have thoughts, memories. All of that's going to stir up. Oftentimes what happens is we respond to that with, "Ugh, what's the matter with me? Why is this happening again?" And we get alarmed and fearful. And if it keeps happening, we activate it as sort of a chronic state of being. But what I want to bring our attention to, so that's looking at craving head on. What I want to do with our craving today is kind of come from an indirect point of view, a little side door. And that is, while the body may be craving a certain substance, a certain behavior, what's underneath all of that is infinitely more informative and more important to examine. That's the real craving. Because what that real craving is saying is what's happening to me in this moment is something I don't like. And I want to do something that makes me feel better. And that is a very tender human thing. I'm bored, I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm confused, and I don't know how to sit with those feelings. I'm not happy, and I don't know how to be with it. So what can I do? Can I find something to eat? That's my go-to. Can I find something sweet? Can I find something on my phone? Can I hook up with someone? Can I go back to bed and go to sleep? Can I drink something? Can I smoke something? Can I inject something? Can I swallow something? All very human. And the craving of that is, I don't want to be with what is present in this moment. And I'm craving for something to be other than what it is. I am craving for something to be other than what it is. That's a mantra. I'm craving something to be other than what it is. I'm craving my life, my mood, my situation to be other than what it is. So if we can acknowledge that, we can empower the moment and infuse the moment with, oh, I can do something different. I can make this moment. I can be in this moment. I can meet this moment anew. So let's do that. Let's do that together, friends. And I invite you to come into your bodies. And I want you, I'm sitting at a computer chair. Many of you know that you can see my computer chair. I hate this thing. And why is there such a thing as a computer chair? I can't stand it. Anyway, I'm at my computer chair and I'm going to sit right at the edge of it. And I want you to as well. If you can do this, this would be great. And I want you to maybe turn your bodies askew from the computer in some direction, whichever direction feels fine, and close your eyes. Nobody's watching. Nobody's watching. And sit nice and tall. And we do this because we want the core of the body to get strong. You know, when we're having to deal with a moment that we don't like or don't want it to be, the body has a tendency to collapse on itself. And the core kind of decompresses a little bit, compresses that is a little bit. So we want to decompress that and open it up. All right. So sit in such a way that you're right at the edge of the seat, you're nice and tall, straight, strong spine, but make sure your belly's soft. You know, maybe have your hands on your belly, on that core belly, nice and soft. And just take a couple of deep breaths. But it's very different than this deep breath is going to be different than what you do at the doctor. Like, we're not doing that. We're doing something very slow. So pay attention to your nose and your mouth and see if you can rest. Your mouth is closed. See if you can rest your tongue on the front palate, the roof of your mouth, tongue just behind your teeth. And I'd like you to inhale through the nostrils very slowly. And on the exhalation, you can either open your mouth ever so slightly and let the air out, or you can allow the air to come through the nostrils again. And as you're exhaling, when you exhale all that air out, bring your attention to your belly and activate your belly muscles to kind of squeeze that last little bit of air out. And then feel your core tighten a little bit. And then on the next inhalation, feel it relax as you inhale. Feel the belly expand. Feel the lungs expand. And then when you exhale, feel everything contract, but do it very slowly, almost like a really sweet squeeze on a stress ball. Relax and inhale. Exhale. By taking a moment of intentional awareness to breathe in this way, you are doing two things. One is you're reoxygenating your red blood cells. And this activates and improves the function of all the organs in your body. The second thing you're doing is you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system. So you're telling your body to relax. You're telling your body, hey, this alarm that you're feeling about the situation, it's okay. This resistance that you're feeling about this situation, it's okay. This exhaustion you're feeling about this situation, it's okay. And when I say the words, it's okay, I don't mean I'm approving. If the situation is something awful, for example, and life often is, I don't want to suggest that we try to make an awful situation other than what it is. If it's awful, it's awful. And yet it's okay because we're with it as it is. That's the okayness. It's a suggestion of acceptance. I accept this situation as it is. I'm not going to resist it. I'm not going to pretend it's something other than it is. I'm with it. Keep breathing. Yesterday, I brought forward in our practice of generosity to cultivate happiness the idea of bothness. This is a non dualistic idea common in the East, but quite unfamiliar to many people in the West. And it simply means that pairs of opposites define our lives. So, for instance, in one hand, as I inhale, I'm not okay. And in the other hand, as I exhale, I am okay. I'm both. I'm always both. But in the Western mind, we've been conditioned to believe that we have to be one or the other. If I'm not okay, then everything about me is wrong. Everything about the situation is wrong and needs to be changed. In the Eastern perspective, it's much more equanimous to suggest, oh, in this moment, I'm not okay. Okay, I see that. I accept that. Because in this next moment of awareness, maybe I am okay. Just a degree. And that degree of okayness is worth recognizing, right beside 10 degrees of not okayness. Breathing in, I am not okay. Breathing out, and I'm okay. By recognizing the bothness, friends, we're tapping into that Buddha nature. And Buddha nature, friends, is absolutely incorruptible. It is a steady, steady state. It rides every fluctuation, it knows every tumult, and it is satisfied in every state of peace. And it is what enables us to be with not okayness and still stay steady in our okayness at the same time. This relates to happiness because this is the foundation of resilience. And resilience and happiness are sisters. And when we feel just an inkling of our own innate resilience, we can open to a degree of happiness. And in that degree of happiness, we stop judging all of our actions that have fed our not okayness. With respect to craving, we stop judging the memories. We stop judging the past actions. We start working with those elements of regret as fodder, as fuel and motivation to do things differently. We don't stay stuck in the memory. We don't stay hooked by the craving. We begin to start getting curious. I wonder why this memory came forward. I wonder why this craving for something is arising in me. Am I bored? Am I angry? I wonder, why am I angry? Oh, it was related to an interaction with so and so. Okay, well what's that all about? And so suddenly as we begin to follow those threads, those conditions, the mind moves away from the threat of craving and begins to get at the conditions underneath motivating it. And by looking at the conditions and understanding them, we create space in our lives, we create openness in our lives, we begin to practice more equanimity. And before you know it, a little more happiness is restored, a greater sense of okayness. I can do this. I have a precious human life with which to use as an instrument of peace and as an instrument for my own awakening. What am I awakening to? I'm awakening to the infinite nature of wisdom. Why is that important? Well, for me, it is the means by which I try to and endeavor to minimize suffering in myself and by extension in others. Breathing in. I am not okay. Breathing out. And I'm okay. Breathing in. Resilience. Breathing out. A degree of happiness. Breathing in and breathing out. This effort today, friends, is such a magnanimous effort. It truly is. Because what you're going to be able to do is when you go interface with the day, with other people, even with your own life, your pets, your plants, your possessions, there may be just a small degree of softness and kindness that you bring as a result of your effort here today. And that can make all the difference in the world. Thank you so much for your practice here, friends. It matters so much. Act to ourselves with a dedication of merit. Two of my favorite sayings in this Buddhist practice come from Thich Nhat Hanh. And the first is your life is the instrument with which you experiment with truth. Your life is the instrument with which you experiment with truth. I really love that because it's such a call to look at your life, this precious human life. You're here in this incarnation to learn what you are here to learn, and you're the only one that can do it. And your life is presenting you with all the opportunities, all the classrooms, all the teachers, all the interactions, the struggles, the successes, everything is fodder for your awakening. And the second mantra, the second saying from Thich Nhat Hanh, has to do with awakening. And he says, we are here to awaken from the illusion of our separateness. We are here to awaken from the illusion of our separateness. And all I want to say to that is everything you do and don't do matters. And so we all possess this agency to determine, to self-determine, what do I want to put in the world? And why do I want to do that? And one of the things that the Buddhist practice does is it allows so much space for us to entertain what we would judge to be shadow. So today we heard from a beautiful new Sangha member letting us know that what they want to do is resist. Well, okay, let's resist. Let's look at it. Let's see what that is. What is resistance here to teach me? Because resistance will not only show us the way of resistance, but it also shows us, if we're paying attention, the way to its opposite, which is fluency, flow, flexibility. Everything about this precious human life matters, and that includes you and me. I want to thank you for your presence here today. I want to thank you for the impression you leave in this space, the inspiration you drop into our consciousness. May we all use it in our connectedness to awaken and be free. Thank you, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.